You know, folks, sometimes something is just too good, too perfect, and you hope that it lives up to the expectations that you've built up in your mind. This is one of those times. Hey there, I am the Mighty Plantain, and when I first heard about this beer that we're checking out tonight, I posted a link to the article in a local newspaper about it. I said there is nothing about this that isn't awesome. And here's what is awesome about this beer. One, it's a collaboration. You gotta love collaborations. Two, it's from Bigelow Brewing Company. If not my favorite, then one of my favorite local Maine breweries. And I'm sorry, I hate that word favorite because it narrows things down to one. I probably have like 10 favorite local Maine breweries because I love all their beers. I can't put one above the other. But Bigelow's a great place, a great setting, and they have not made a loser yet. Every single beer I've ever had from them has been good. Anyway, they're one of my top 10. If you really want to rank in terms of my top 10, they're all kind of equal. Anyway, it's a Scotch ale from Bigelow. I have not seen a Scotch ale from them yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody local who's looking, but I didn't look it up. I'm pretty sure everything they've made so far, they have not made something that's been classified as a Scotch ale. So I like Scotch ales. So Bigelow Brewing made a Scotch ale. And the collaborator is Hight Chevy Buick. It's a local car dealership that's been around since 1911. They've been around for 110 years. So, a collaboration with a car dealership, okay, whatever, we collaborate with certain businesses to make stuff all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they added ingredients or whatever, but there's a creative collaboration that happens anyway. So, you know what? Whatever. That's cool. It's kind of awesome because it's the first time that we know of, at least in the state of Maine, that a brewery has collaborated with a car dealership to make a beer. It's 100% locally sourced grain from Lisbon and Mapleton, Maine. That's awesome too. And this is called Tin Can Sailor because it's celebrating the legacy of Lieutenant S. Kirby Hight. 110 years of family business and beer. So S. Kirby Hight was a sailor in World War II. I believe it's Tin Can Sailor. And you can look up all the stuff about tin can sailors and what that reference is. I mean, U.S. Navy destroyers were called tin cans, and the guys who sailed on were tin can sailors because it's a fucking tin can. Those poor bastards are crammed in. And it hasn't changed much in today's Navy, from what I understand. Submarines are even worse. Anyway, this Scotch ale highlights Kirb's affection for Scotch, cigars, and his country. Scotch, cigars, and his country. Fuck yeah. Come on. A sailor who likes Scotch and cigars in America. Ah! But more importantly, the Hight family's commitment to their local community. Proceeds will help support Skowhegan, his home for 102 years. So, a portion of the proceeds of this beer go towards a local Skowhegan library. I really should have printed off all the information on this before coming on. I just went with what was on the can. I figured everything would be on the can. They don't specifically mention a library, but they did specifically mention a library in the press release. Anyway, again, Hight Chevy Buick, local car dealership that's been around for a long time, celebrating their family history of serving the military with a World War II U.S. Navy sailor who fucking lived for 102 years. Guy who liked Scotch, cigars, and his country. And again, it's Bigelow. That's a Scotch ale. Again, there is nothing about this that isn't awesome. So, that being said, I have very high expectations for this beer. Oh, look at that. slightly cloudy, brown in color. Beautiful on the pour. I got a good pour on it. Decent head. Nice creamy head for a Scotch ale. Damn, look at that. Oh, look how dark that is at the top, but lighter at the bottom. There is some light coming through down there, but it gets pretty dark towards the top. Wow. And that, it's slightly effervescent. I do see some bubbles coming up through, but that head is fairly thick comparatively. Wow. The looks are awesome. Slightly smoky undertones. Nice and grainy. Nice full grainy, like that wet grain, fermented grain aroma, but very grainy. Maybe a bit of a hint of Scotch underneath, but that could just be my imagination. Yeah, nice, just a nice, oh, the head's starting to fade, but oh man. It's that nice, slightly damp, grainy, and somewhat smoky aroma. And again, the Scotch, the whiskey or bourbon, it's all kind of the same thing. The aroma that I'm picking up on could partly be in my head or could totally be in my head, but I am kind of picking up on that. All right. Nice medium mouthfeel. It's got a good body to it. Oh, man. That's complex. Up front, it's got a nice woody smokiness to it. In the middle, there's this weird transition. It's like it's almost sweet, but not quite. Again, that woody smokiness, it's reminiscent of something that's been barrel aged, but they don't specifically mention barrel aging in here, so I assume it hasn't been, but I should have looked that up. But yeah, there's a very, very woody and smoky flavor there that makes me think of barrel aged beers. And there's that odd transition, almost like overcooked molasses, but not in a bad way. It's not like that burnt charcoal, like burnt on the cookie pan, molasses cookies, folks. Molasses. It's just this smoky, charred, roasted molasses character, and then it fades to an almost hoppy bitterness, but I can't place a specific hop ester. It might not even be hoppy at all. It could just be a similar bitterness. Some of the flavors I'm getting are just escaping description right now for me. And I'm not that inebriated that I shouldn't be able to come up with the words, so I'm guessing I just lack comparisons. It's really good. I'm really liking it. But yeah, just a smoky, woody bitterness that reminds me of a barrel-aged beer without any specific mention of it being barrel-aged. It's like a really light Scotch whiskey. Really light at 6% ABV. But it's like if you took a Scotch whiskey, not a Highlands malt or a blended, not a Speyside, or an Islay Pardon. Maybe a Highlands malt, because some of the Highlands malts tend to have a really I don't know, a certain character that doesn't sit well with me. But honestly, maybe the Highlands malt Scotch whiskey with most of the alcohol removed, if you could distill out the flavor components without the whiskey or without the alcohol, you'd get something, I think, somewhat similar to this, but it's not as off-putting for me as the Highlands malts tend to be. So I'd have to look it up. Maybe they used some peat to smoke their malt ahead of time, but I don't think so. That's not typical of American Scotch ales that I know of. Again, there's a lot of things in here that I can't put my finger on, but I don't have any new words or new ways to describe this that I haven't already repeated at least twice, maybe 3 times. So I'm just gonna lay it on the line here. I'm gonna say this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's not like a perfectly balanced or a wow reaction, but it's as close to that as I can get. I got nothing bad to say about it. Everything positive, and it's confusing me and leaving me at a lack of words enough that I'm like, it's pretty damn good. But I just didn't have that initial wow reaction. So I'm hitting it with a 4.5 out of 5, which is as close to perfect as I can get. And it is really damn good. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say about it. Hit me up down below in the comments or the email link. Let me know if I left anything out, or if you have some better words than I did to describe the flavor or character of this beer. I want to hear from you, because I'm not used to being so limited in ways to describe a beer that hits me this good at a 4.5 out of 5. Maybe that's part of its deliciousness, is just the simplicity of the flavor. I don't know. But while you're down there, make sure to hit me up with a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, folks, check out Tin Can Sailor. Support local brews. And, cheers to the folks in the service. You've done more with your lives than I have with mine. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Cheers.